Two AL East teams walk away as huge winners, and an NL Central team makes their mark towards the top of the division, but it's not the team you're thinking of. I'm Blake Flynn for TWSN, and this is my top five offseason winners on Blake Around the Bases.
Right center, Harris is back. He reaches up. Oh my! Gibby! Meet Freddie!
Spring training is officially here, which means it's time to reflect on the 2025 MLB offseason and look at my top five winners from the offseason. Before I start this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into it. Coming in at number five, I have my first team from the AL East here, and it is the Toronto Blue Jays. While a lot of people think they lost the offseason, I think they actually made some huge strides. The biggest signing Anthony Santander from the rival Baltimore Orioles. He had a huge breakout 2024 campaign that we've been waiting for Santander to see a lot. He immediately adds a power threat to that offense. They also signed Max Scherzer, very old, but still a very reliable option in the rotation when he's healthy to pair with Kevin Gausman and Jose Berrios. The team also traded for Andres Gimenez from the Cleveland Guardians. That was a huge move. And Jeff Hoffman, they signed as their closer in the offseason. There are some injury concerns with Hoffman, but if he is healthy, he can be a top closer in the league. Now, the biggest problem here for the Blue Jays is they still need to work out their young core in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. Those two have still not been re-signed. So spring training is going to be a huge deadline for the Blue Jays if they can re-sign both of those guys or at least figure out what they're going to do. The team still has George Springer, who's another part of that core three the team has been looking to build around. But I think the Blue Jays made some major moves here. Coming in at number four, I have the New York Mets. Obviously, the biggest storyline was the 15-year, $765 million deal they handed to Juan Soto to leave the Bronx to come over to Queens. That is individually the biggest move of the offseason. Obviously, a huge win for Soto, but the Mets also made some other major moves. They re-signed Sean Manaea, brought in Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, AJ Minter, and Griffin Canning to solidify the pitching staff, traded for Jose Siri, and then the other big move the Mets made was re-signing Pete Alonso to a super cheap 2-year, $54 million deal. Alonso obviously could have made his way out of New York. Him and his agent Scott Boras were pounding the table for a bigger contract, but no one was interested in meeting the numbers they wanted. So the Mets were able to swoop in and re-sign their veteran all-star first baseman for super cheap. And that is huge. This is a lineup that still includes Frankie Lindor, one of the best shortstops in the game, a rising Mark Vientos, and then two other solid options in Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo. They also re-signed Jesse Winker, which I think was an underrated move for this team at the DH position. He was huge for them in the postseason at moments. One of the better hitters in the postseason they've had. And I think that this lineup is becoming very strong and one of the best in the MLB. When you look at pitching, obviously they need to get Kodai Senga back fully healthy. Frankie Montas has been shut down from spring training for a little bit with a lat injury, but once he makes his way in, he should be fine. Team also still has Paul Blackburn and a lot of other interesting names. I think the Mets could easily make it back to the NLCS, and at that point, they might be able to win it. Coming in at number three, we know the NL Central is a little scary and not really competitive. The Cubs made their moves acquiring Kyle Tucker, but they're not on this list. Coming in at my number three spot is the Cincinnati Reds. Alone, bringing in Terry Francona was a huge win for the Reds, freeing themselves from the David Bell regime. They now have a competent manager. This team made a lot of subtle but impactful moves, not really moves that you would climb up the charts and say are some of the best moves you make. But for the Reds, these moves were very valuable. They traded Jonathan India for Brady Singer from the Kansas City Royals, made a huge trade for Gavin Lux from the Los Angeles Dodgers, signed Austin Hayes, traded for Jose Trevino, and they also got Nick Martinez back on the qualifying offer, who was arguably their best pitcher last year. The biggest move to me, honestly, though, isn't even any of these moves. The biggest move for the Reds in the offseason is getting Matt McLain back. McLain, once he came up in 2023, immediately made his impact, made this team better. This team played with more of a fire when Matt McLain was in the lineup, and they severely missed him last year. He missed all of last year with multiple injuries, trying to come back from rehab stints, getting hurt again. So to have Matt McLain healthy at second base is huge for the Reds. And again, Terry Francona, a win manager selection. This was probably one of the best selections they could have gotten for a manager in the offseason, and they hit it right out of the park with signing Tito Francona. Elly De La Cruz, obviously the star here, had a very great 2024 season, improved on that rookie year, still has a lot more strides to go, but Elly De La Cruz certainly cementing himself as one of the top stars in baseball in the future. And this is a rotation that is very interesting. Rhett Lauder has dealt with some injuries in the preseason, in the spring training, but he's coming back looking better than ever. The team still has Hunter Green. They obviously re-signed Nick Martinez. So it's good. Pitching is going to be a huge factor for this Reds team. And again, in a very weak NL Central, I think they have the tools to do it. Coming in at number 2, we have the Boston Red Sox. The two highlights here, obviously trading for Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox for a huge haul of prospects. And as it was just recently announced a couple weeks ago, signing Alex Bregman. Bregman finally finds a home, and it is with the Boston Red Sox. Now, it's uncertain where he's going to play, whether he's going to play at third and they're going to move Devers to DH, or he's going to move to second and Devers still play third. But these were two very big moves. The team also brought in Walker Buehler and Aroldis Chapman to complete the headline moves. If you look at this rotation, Garrett Crochet is now joined by Walker Buehler, and the team still retains Tanner Houck and Cutter Crawford, who were getting AL Cy Young votes and were in contention for that award for a majority of the year. The team also retains Brian Bello and Lucas Giolito, who is going to be healthy in 2025. This was a young team that needed more experience. Obviously, they have Rafael Devers, and Alex Bregman now comes in and provides that for a young team that features Jarren Duran, Tristan Casas, Ceddanne Rafaela, Masataka Yoshida. Even though he's a little older, he's still new to MLB, and Roman Anthony, who will be called up in 2025. He's a number 2 ranked prospect in all of baseball, expected to make his debut this season. And with the Yankees getting severely worse and the Baltimore Orioles also getting worse, this is now an open division for anyone in the taking. And along with the Toronto Blue Jays, I think the Red Sox had a huge group of moves that will land them there. You know, obviously in the past we've seen them trade for Chris Sale from the White Sox, and they ended up winning a World Series that year. This has that same shade of effect here with bringing in Garrett Crochet. The rotation's gotten better, the lineup's gotten better. A very young team to look out for that I think can be serious contenders. And number 1, to no surprise, it is the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, how can it not be the Dodgers? This group of talent they have brought in and re-signed is insane. It is almost remarkable how a team can have this good of an offseason. But then again, they are the LA Dodgers, and they can spend their money freely without any penalty because they're one of the most profitable franchises in the MLB. Roki Sasaki, obviously the headline, the 23-year-old Japanese super kid who is supposed to be better than Yamamoto, Masahiro Tanaka, Yu Darvish, any other Japanese player as a pitcher who has come in, even 2 on his own team. He's supposed to be the best of them. They also brought in Blake Snell from the Giants. And then if you look at the bullpen, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, they re-signed Blake Trinan. They still have Brusdar Graterol and Michael Kopech. This bullpen is elite. The team also extended Tommy Edman, and they also re-signed Teoscar Hernandez. We knew it was going to be the Dodgers. We knew they were going to spend a lot of money and bring in key free agents. But to see all of these moves come together as one offseason is almost unfair. And The biggest thing I want to talk about is the rotation, because I have been on record saying that this potential starting five of a rotation could be the greatest rotation ever. Better than the 2013 Tigers, better than the Phillies when they had Holiday, Hamels, and the other four aces, better than the 98 Braves, the 80 Mets, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, and oh, did I mention, by the way, that Shohei Ohtani is coming back to pitch in 2025 at some time? You also have, if you want to just throw it around, Clayton Kershaw, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May. They're also in the mix. You can move either of them to the bullpen and still have all of these guys on one pitching staff, along with the other names I've mentioned. The Los Angeles Dodgers clearly won the MLB offseason. And as notable favorites to win the World Series again, certainly making their case known that they are not playing around, still retaining Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, a lot of big names, and they've only made this team better. That is it for the video. Drop in the comments, let me know what you think, who won the offseason, if any of my picks you think were actually losers. And like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe this video. I've been Blake Flynn for TWSN. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.